The unexpected visitor. It was raining outside and the wind was strong. The sky was dark and lightning flashed again and again. Inside the dorm room, Alex sat alone with a warm blanket around him. He was just a normal human student at the Earth, Intergalactic Academy. Most of the students there were aliens from many planets. Alex didn't mind. He liked meeting new kinds of people. But there was one alien girl he never spoke to much. Her name was Jayla. Jayla was quiet and strange. She always sat at the back of the class. Her skin was light purple and glowing very softly like the moon. Her eyes were silver and she wore a long black robe that touched the floor. Nobody knew what species she was. Some said she was dangerous. Others said she could read minds. Alex thought she just wanted to be left alone. As the storm outside got louder, Alex stood up to close the window. Just then, the door to his room opened, slowly. He turned around thinking it was a mistake. But there she was. Jayla stood at the door, wet from the rain, her robe dripping and her hair sticking to her face. She didn't say anything. She just stared inside the room with wide eyes. Her body shook and her mouth opened a little, but no sound came out. Alex took a step toward her and asked if she was okay. But Jayla didn't move. She looked past him into the room like she had seen a ghost. Alex was confused. There was nothing behind him, just his bed, a chair, and a small desk with some books and his old science kit. He asked her again if she needed help. Still no answer. Then he noticed something strange. Her hands were clenched tightly. Her legs were shaking. She looked terrified. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was a whisper. Just one word. She turned around and ran into the hallway. Alex followed her, but by the time he reached the door, she was gone. Only a few drops of rainwater on the floor showed that she had really been there. Alex closed the door and locked it. His heart was beating fast. Why did she come to his room? Why did she freeze like that? And what did she see that scared her so much? He looked around his room carefully. Everything seemed normal. But then he walked to his science kit. It was old and dusty. He opened the box and saw some old tools and a small broken scanner. He picked up the scanner and smelled it. It had a strange metallic smell, sharp and cold, like blood and metal mixed together. That night he couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Jayla's face, the way her eyes had widened, the way she froze, like time had stopped. What did she see in his room? Or maybe what did she remember? The next day in class, Jayla didn't come. Her seat was empty. The teacher didn't mention her. None of the other students seemed to care. But Alex couldn't focus. He kept looking at the door, hoping she would walk in after class. He asked around if anyone had seen her, but nobody knew anything. One alien girl laughed and said maybe she returned to her home planet. Another boy joked that maybe she saw a ghost in Alex's room. Alex didn't laugh. Something was wrong. Deeply wrong. That evening, Alex walked to the alien student quarters. It was a place he never went before. The buildings looked different, more organic and strange, like they were alive. He found her name on one of the doors. Jayla. He knocked gently. No answer. He knocked again. This time the door opened just a crack. He saw her eyes. She didn't open the door all the way, just enough for him to see her face. "Are you okay?" he asked. "You ran away last night. Did something happen?" Jayla's face was calm, but her eyes were not. They were full of fear. And something else. Sadness. "I didn't mean to enter your room," she whispered. "I was lost. But when I stepped in, I smelled something. Something I haven't smelled in many years. And I remembered things I want to forget." Alex didn't understand. What smell? What memory? What was she talking about? Before he could ask more, she closed the door gently and said, "Please do not come here again." Alex stood there in the hallway, not moving. The rain started again outside. But this time the storm was not only in the sky. It had entered his life, and it had a name, Jayla. And something told him this was just the beginning. Eyes that remember. Pain. The night was long for Alex. He kept turning in bed thinking about Jayla. Her silver eyes haunted his mind. That fear. It wasn't normal fear. It was deep, ancient, like she had seen death before. And when she stood in his doorway, it was like she saw it again. The next morning he skipped breakfast and walked straight to the classroom. Her seat was still empty. The lectures felt like noise. He couldn't stop thinking. What had she meant by, "I smelled something I haven't smelled in years"? What kind of memory made someone freeze like that after class? Alex didn't go back to his dorm. He walked again to the alien sector. This time he carried something. His old science kit. The same one that might have triggered her reaction. Maybe if she saw it again, she would talk. Maybe she would explain. He reached her door and knocked once. No answer. He waited a moment, then knocked again. This time, the door opened just a little. Her silver eyes looked at him through the gap. "Why are you here again?" she asked. "I brought something," he replied. "It's mine. I think it's what scared you. Please just look. I don't want to hurt you." She opened the door a little more and looked at the box in his hands. A slow breath left her lips. Then she stepped aside, letting him in. Her room was dim and quiet. Strange glowing plants grew from her walls. They pulsed softly like they were breathing. The floor was covered with soft fur-like moss. It didn't feel like a room. It felt like part of a living creature. She pointed to the table. "Put it there." Alex obeyed. He placed the science kit gently and opened it. Inside were old metal tools, wires, a scanner, and a few sealed vials. He looked up. Jayla didn't move, but her hands were shaking. She walked slowly to the table. Her eyes landed on the small, broken scanner. Her breathing stopped. Her face turned pale. "That," she whispered. "That thing. I remember the sound it made. You've seen it before?" Alex asked. "Not seen. Felt." She sat down slowly. Her voice was soft, each word heavy like a stone. "I was taken when I was young. I don't know who they were, but they wore human coats, spoke your language. They called it a research facility, but it was a prison, a lab. They used that tool, that scanner. They pressed it to my skin again and again, to test, to scan, to burn. They said I was special, that my cells reacted strangely. They kept me locked for months. I thought I would die there." Alex couldn't breathe. His heart was racing. Jayla pulled down her robe a little to show her shoulder. A small, round scar was visible, like something had been stabbed into her skin. Not once. Many times, in the exact shape of the scanner Tippy escaped. With help. A worker set me free. He said it was wrong what they did, but I never forgot the smell of those tools. That metal. That cold sting in the air. I changed my name. Hid my real species. And now, I walk into your room and smell it all over again. I didn't know, Alex said. My father gave me that kit when I was a kid. He said it was old, from his lab days. He never told me where it came from. Jayla's eyes locked on his. Your father? Was he part of the labs? He was a military scientist, Alex said. Retired now. But he never spoke about his work. Jayla stood up suddenly. Her silver eyes glowed brighter than before. Then maybe you should ask him. Because if he worked in those labs, and if he worked on me, then I don't know if I should trust you. Alex wanted to say something. Anything. But the words didn't come. He felt ashamed, like the sins of his father were now his own. Jayla turned away. Leave now. Please. I don't want to hurt you. But I also don't want to be hurt again. Alex picked up the kit and walked toward the door. Before leaving, he turned one last time. I'm not my father, and I'll prove it. Then he walked out into the hallway, his mind full of questions and his heart full of guilt. In her room, Jayla stood still, staring at the glowing plants. A single tear rolled down her cheek. She had tried so hard to forget, but memories had found her again. And they wore a human face. The scar on her back. The wind outside was cold, but inside Alex's chest it felt colder. He couldn't forget Jayla's voice, soft but heavy with pain. Her scar, her memory, and now a question he never thought he'd ask. Was his own father part of something terrible? Back in his dorm room, Alex stared at the old science kit sitting on his desk. He opened it again, slowly this time, and picked up the small scanner. The same model she had pointed at. He turned it over in his hands, examining it closely. At the bottom, he noticed something strange. A barely visible serial code burned into the metal. He opened his datapad and searched the code online. Most of the results were blocked, but one old archive pinged back. Property of Project Z-Lab, Sector 74B, status, discontinued, Z-Lab. That wasn't a university lab. It sounded military and dangerous. Alex grabbed a storage box his father had mailed him last year. It was sealed with an old code lock. He had never cared to open it before. His father always sent boring tools and papers, but now, Alex was shaking. What if something inside could explain all this? He tried a few dates, his birthday, his father's ID number, and finally, the lock clicked open. Inside were files, old drives, and photos. Most were from Earth, some from Mars, and one from a space station labeled Station Zeta Prime, Z-Lab Division. He pulled out a chip labeled Confidential, Subject Schernchiefen 4B. Alex's hands trembled as he inserted the chip into his datapad. The screen lit up. A file opened. There she was. Younger, thinner, terrified. Jayla. She was strapped to a table. Machines surrounded her. White-coated humans stood nearby. One of them was his father, smiling. The file log read, Subject shows cellular regeneration at rate 600% above baseline. Strong response to genetic stimuli. Recommend continued extraction. She does not speak our language but shows extreme emotional reaction to scanner exposure. Pain suppressants not effective. Alex closed the datapad and covered his face with his hands. His father had worked on her, had hurt her, had treated her like an object. He didn't sleep that night. The next morning, he skipped class and returned to the alien quarters. He had to tell her. She deserved to know. Even if she never spoke to him again. At her door, he knocked gently. No answer. Jayla, it's me, Alex. Please. I found something. I think it's about your past. The door opened just a little, just like last time. But she didn't hide her face this time. She stared at him with tired eyes. Let me see it, she said. Alex handed her the datapad, already showing the file. She took it slowly and sat down on the edge of her glowing floor. The video played. Her eyes didn't blink. Her fingers tightened. That's me, she said after a long silence. That's how I looked before I escaped. I had forgotten my own face. Alex lowered his head. That's my father in the video, he said. I didn't know. I swear to you, I didn't know any of this. Jayla stood up and turned away. She walked to her mirror, pulled her robe off one shoulder, and turned her back toward him. Look, her voice was quiet but strong. Alex looked. From her spine all the way down were thin white scars, layered like vines. He didn't know what to say. He couldn't speak. You see this scar, she said. This is where they inserted the gene probes. They said I was built wrong, that my DNA was unstable. But really, They just didn't understand me. I'm so sorry, Alex whispered. I don't know how to fix this, but I will try. Jayla turned to him. For the first time, her voice softened. You were kind to me, even before you knew the truth. That means something. But this is more than your fault or your father's. There are still people out there who want me dead. Because I lived when I wasn't supposed to. Alex frowned. What do you mean? Jayla walked to her wall and touched one of the glowing plants. It opened, revealing a small hidden compartment. Inside was a folded map and a silver data crystal. The people who ran Z Lab didn't stop after I escaped. They moved their lab, changed their names, but I've been watching, waiting, gathering proof. She handed Alex the map and the crystal. You want to help me? Then come with me. We're going to find them. And this time, I won't be the one running. Alex nodded. Without hesitation, he had started with questions. Now he had a mission, and he wasn't going to let Jayla face her past alone again. The lab that vanished. The next day, Alex stood at the edge of the Academy's shuttle port with Jayla beside him. The silver data crystal she gave him was now plugged into his wristpad, glowing softly. On the screen was a faded route, half corrupted, but still clear enough to follow. Coordinates that pointed far beyond the usual star paths, into a region known as the Black Dust Zone. It was a dead area. No signals, no traffic, no official maps. But Jayla said that's where the lab went. And he believed her. Jayla wore a new outfit. Sleek, black, tight-fitting with thin armored plates. Her hood was down, revealing her face fully for the first time. She looked calm, but her eyes carried weight. A soldier's weight. A survivor's fire. The shuttle they boarded was small and old, but fast. As they lifted off, Alex kept watching Jayla. She didn't look back at the Academy. Maybe she didn't want to. Maybe she was scared that if she looked back, she'd lose her courage. They traveled in silence for hours, until the stars outside began to vanish, replaced by a thick gray cloud of interstellar dust. The navigation system blinked. Red. Alex checked. The route again. We're in the Black Dust Zone now. Jayla stood behind him and pointed at a floating marker near an asteroid belt. That's where it used to be. That was the last ping from a ship that tried to escape the lab. The signal ended there. They reached the location, but there was nothing. No station, no debris. Just silent rocks drifting in space. It looked like the lab had never existed. It was here, she said. I know it. I feel it in my bones. Alex frowned. He scanned the area again and again. No structure, no energy field, no signal. But then something flickered on his pad. A magnetic distortion. Slight. Artificial. Not natural. There's something there, he said. Maybe cloaked. Jayla narrowed her eyes. If they cloaked the lab, then they never left. They're hiding it from everyone. Even the Federation. Alex turned on the high-frequency scanner. The screen lit up. A perfect shape formed in the middle of the dust. A large circular station built into an asteroid. Buried. Invisible to normal eyes. We found it, Alex whispered. No, Jayla said, stepping forward. We found them. They couldn't land, so they parked the shuttle in a crater nearby and used thruster packs to glide to the hidden structure. Up close, the station was massive. Cold metal covered in dust and space moss. No lights, no sound. But a small hatch waited, half buried under floating rocks. Jayla moved to the panel and placed her hand on a hidden scanner. The light turned green. The door hissed open. Alex stared at her. How do you know the code? She gave a faint smile. Because I was made here. They entered. The air inside was stale but breathable. The hallway lights blinked on one by one. Metal walls. Steel floor. Faint markings on the doors. Z-Lab Sector 4. Still untouched after all this time, Alex walked slowly, his heart pounding. The silence was worse than noise. Everything looked abandoned, but too clean. No signs of damage, no broken systems. Just waiting. They reached a central chamber. Tables, chairs, restraint beds, medical tools, and on one table, another scanner. The same model as the one in Alex's room. Jayla walked over to it. Her fingers touched the metal like it burned her. Her breath caught. Her knees bent. "This was where they broke me," she said. "Right here. I remember the cold table, the lights above me, the way the humans spoke like I wasn't real, like I was just a mistake." Alex reached to steady her, but she stood up before he could. "I'm not afraid anymore." They moved deeper into the lab. A door was locked with an old code. Alex hacked the panel using the data crystal. The door opened. Inside was a glowing tank filled with blue liquid, and inside that tank floated another girl alien. Just like Jayla. Same silver eyes, same glowing skin. Younger, smaller. Still alive, Jayla gasped. "That's not possible." Alex checked the tank's label. Subject Nausea Josh, 74C status. Stable growth rate. Artificial delay. Jayla touched the glass. "She's like me. A clone. A sister. I don't know." But they never stopped. Even after I escaped, they kept going. Suddenly, alarms rang through the lab. Lights turned red. A voice echoed through the hallway. "Unauthorized access detected." Security activated. Jayla grabbed Alex's hand. "We woke them up. They know we're here." "Let them come," Alex said. "We are not running this time." She looked at him with fire in her eyes. "No. We're going to finish what they started. But this time, we write the ending." Hidden files in his father's box. The alarms howled like angry ghosts, echoing through the cold metal halls of the lab. Red lights flashed overhead, painting Alex and Jayla's faces in warning. But neither of them moved back. They stood before the glowing tank, watching the young girl floating inside, still and unaware of the danger now rushing toward them. Jayla's hand was flat against the glass. "They numbered her like me," she whispered. 74C. I must have been B. Or maybe even Alex checked the data console beside the tank. It was locked, but outdated. With a few taps on his wristpad, he bypassed the system. Information flooded the screen. Lines of old logs. Test. Results. DNA. Strands. Jayla's name wasn't there, but the match was clear. This girl was grown from the same genome. Not just a clone. A continuation. A second chance. Before they could process it, heavy boots echoed in the hallway's securities. "Coming," Alex said. "We have to hide or fight." Jayla didn't move. Her eyes were still on the girl. "No, we're taking her with us." Alex looked at the tank. It wasn't portable. It was sealed and connected to power. Moving it meant waking her. And waking her might be dangerous. She had no memory, no identity, no idea who she was. She could panic it, Jayla said, her voice sharp now. If they catch her, she becomes another test. Another number. Alex took a breath and opened the panel. He disabled the stasis lock. The blue liquid began to drain. A few seconds later, the girl slowly opened her eyes. Dull silver at first, then glowing bright like Jayla's. She looked confused. Frightened. She fell forward, but Jayla caught her. "You're okay. You're free now." The girl shivered in her arms. She tried to speak, but no words came. Only a soft, broken sound. Footsteps grew louder outside. No more time. This way, Alex said, pointing to an emergency vent. It led to the underhall. Old crawl tunnels for engineers. They escaped through the shaft, crawling through narrow space until they reached the outer storage bay. There, behind a wall panel, they found an old escape pod. Covered in dust. Untouched for years, Alex checked the systems, still functional. He helped Jayla and the girl into the pod, then climbed in himself. As he initiated launch, the door to the bay slammed open. A squad of armed guards rushed in, but it was too late. The pod ejected into space like a bullet back. On the shuttle, the girl lay asleep on a medical bed. Alex drove them away from the black dust zone. No words were spoken. Jayla sat beside the girl, holding her hand. She didn't cry. She didn't speak. But something in her had changed. She wasn't just angry anymore. She was protective. Like an older sister who had found a piece of herself long thought lost. Hours passed back at the Academy station. Alex sat alone with the files they had taken. He opened one marked Genetic Chains, Directive Z. Inside was a list of all the test subjects. Most were marked deceased. Only 2 names were active, 74B and 74C. The last, 2 survivors. Then he saw it. His father's name, not just as a scientist. He was listed as a primary handler. That meant he personally managed Jayla's case. The man who raised Alex, who laughed with him, who called him son, had done this. And never said a word. Alex reached into his storage box and pulled out a small metal ring. His father's old data key. He had kept it as a memory. Now he plugged it into his pad. More files unlocked. One message sat unread, labeled, "For my son, in case you ever learn the truth." Alex tapped play. His father's face appeared, older than Alex remembered. He looked tired. "If you're watching this, then you know. I was part of the Z-Lab program. I hurt innocent lives. I believed I was helping humanity. I was wrong. Your mother left me when she found out. I didn't fight her. I didn't fight for anything after that. But one girl, Subject 74B, she looked at me once, just once, and I saw fear. Pure fear. That night I stopped everything. I helped her escape. I broke protocol. I risked everything. But I did it. Because I saw what we had become. I've lived in silence. But you, Alex, you're better than me. If you ever meet her, tell her I'm sorry. Not for the lab. Not for the tests. For seeing her as anything less than a person." The screen faded. Alex sat still for a long time. Then he walked to the med bay where Jayla was sitting. Awake now, with the younger girl curled beside her, he knelt beside her and said quietly, "My father, he was the one who helped you escape." Jayla didn't react at first. Then she closed her eyes. "I always wondered who it was. I never saw his face. But I knew someone left my door unlocked. Someone turned off the alarms." Alex placed the ring in her hand. "He said he's sorry. And that he saw you. As a person." She looked at the ring for a long time, then nodded. "Once. Then I forgive him. But not the others. And we're going to finish this. You and me. And now her." She looked at the sleeping girl and smiled. No more numbers. No more cages. Just names. Just people. Alex smiled back. "Then let's go give them a future." She wasn't supposed to survive. Jayla stood in front of the shuttle window, arms crossed, her glowing eyes watching the stars slide past. The younger girl, Subject 74C, was asleep, again, wrapped in soft blankets, her breathing calm now, like she had never known pain. But Jayla knew better. Even without memory, scars lived in the blood. And those people, they had never meant for any of them to survive. Alex sat near the navigation console, quietly reading the files they recovered. Each one was worse than the last. Experiment logs, emotion suppression tests, Notes about failures, written so casually as if lives meant nothing. The Z-Lab wasn't just illegal, it was evil, cold, designed by humans and aliens working together in secret, beyond the reach of any Law 1 note kept repeating in different files. Terminate 74B, subject to aware, emotional independence rising. They had tried to erase her, to break her, but she had lived. Jayla turned away from the window and walked over to Alex. They'll come after her, you know. She's a loose thread now. Like I was. Alex looked at the sleeping girl, then we tie the thread into a knot. Stronger than before, Jayla almost smiled, but her eyes remained sharp. This doesn't end with escape. We have proof now, and we know where. The last base is, you found another base. She pulled a file chip from her belt and placed it on the table. I decoded it. There's one more location. Not in deep space. Not hidden. It's here. On Earth. Alex blinked. Earth? That's impossible. Jayla nodded. That's why it's perfect. Nobody looks for monsters where they feel safest. The last lab was under the ruins of an old research center, once bombed during the war. Everyone thought it was destroyed, but below the ashes, the real Z-Lab had survived. Smaller, smarter, and still working. We can't go alone, Alex said. We need help. No governments, no federation. Then who? Jayla hesitated. Then she said, people like us. Survivors, ones they tried to erase. She placed another file on the table. A list of names. Former test subjects. Escaped. Hidden. Some had changed planets. Some had gone underground. All had vanished from records. You tracked them. For years, she replied. Quietly. One by one, I sent out messages while you were sleeping. One of them already responded. He's waiting for us in the wastelands of Eastern Europa. Calls himself the Burned One. Sounds friendly. Alex muttered. Jayla gave a faint smirk. He's not, but he hates Z-Lab more than anything. They melted half his face with sonic fire during one of their brainwave tests. Lovely, Alex said. And I assume he's also very polite. He'll help if we bring proof. And you, she added, looking at Alex. You're the son of the man who let me go. That means something to people like us. Alex looked at her. Serious now. What about the girl? She's just a kid. She can't go where we're going. Jayla nodded and whispered. She won't. The screen on the console pinged. A private call request was incoming. From Earth. From someone named Dr. Elias Marek. Who's that? Alex asked. Good man, Jayla said. He used to be a healer before Z-Lab blacklisted him. Now he runs a hidden sanctuary for survivors. He'll take care of her. Alex opened the line. An older man with kind eyes appeared on the screen. Jayla. I got your message. Is it true? You found one of them? She stepped into view and nodded. She's safe, for now. But I need to move. Will you protect her? Always, Elias said. Bring her home when the call ended. Jayla turned to the sleeping girl and knelt beside her. She touched her hair gently and whispered, You weren't supposed to live, but you did. And now you'll grow up free. With your own name, your own story. The girl stirred and opened her silver eyes. Who am I? Jayla smiled softly. You're someone who gets to choose that. Later that night, they landed the shuttle near a secure drop point. A small craft from Elias's sanctuary arrived quietly. The girl was taken inside gently by two caretakers. She looked back at Jayla once, her eyes wide with silent questions. Jayla waved, hiding the storm in her heart. Back on the shuttle, Alex placed a hand on her shoulder. You okay? She stared into the stars again. No, but I'm ready. Where to next? Europa, she said. To meet the Burned One, and after that, to burn down everything, They built. Alex nodded. For the first time, he felt like this fight wasn't just hers. It was theirs. All of them. The forgotten, the hurt, the left behind. And soon, Z-Lab would learn that the ones not meant to survive were the ones who would end it all. The night they came. Snow fell gently over the ruins of Europa's eastern wastelands. Long dead cities stood like bones under the gray sky. Twisted towers leaned into the wind, and silence ruled the broken streets. But deep beneath the earth, in tunnels carved long ago by machines of war, a new fire was being lit, one that had waited years to rise. Alex stood beside Jayla in the shadow of a half-destroyed statue. Their breath fogged the cold air. He wore a combat vest now, patched, with survival gear. Jayla wore her sleek black armor, but something about her had changed. She no longer looked like someone running from her past. She looked like someone ready to end it. "Are you sure he's coming?" Alex asked, scanning the ruins. Jayla nodded. "He'll come. He always does." A low, echoing hum reached their ears. From between shattered buildings, a huge figure emerged, tall and wrapped in scorched metal plates. One half of his face was burned and replaced with crude cybernetics. His eyes glowed faint red, but not with hate. With memory, he stopped in front of Jayla. For a long moment, they just stared. "You brought the proof?" he asked in a deep, cracked voice. Jayla handed him the data chip they stole from the hidden lab. He plugged it into a socket in his arm. As the files loaded, his expression changed. "They're still doing it," he muttered. "After all this time, not anymore." Jayla said, "We burn them tonight." The burned one looked up. Behind him, more shadows moved. Others, survivors, different species, all marked by pain. Some had glowing scars. Others walked with strange limps or implants. They were the forgotten, but now they had a cause again. "We go through the tunnels," the burned one said. "Undetected. The lab's shield drops for 5 minutes every 2 hours. That's our window." Jayla turned to Alex. "This is it. No more running, no more fear, just one question," he said. "What happens after?" Jayla looked up at the dark sky. "Then we build something better." They moved as one, through icy tunnels lit only by old flickering lights. When they reached the final wall, the burned one raised a giant metal fist and smashed the panel. Behind it, a hidden lift activated. It descended with a mechanical groan. The underground lab was cleaner than the last. Smaller, sharper. Every step they took echoed against metal floors. Lights blinked on as if the place had been waiting for them. Security drones flew out from hidden walls, but they weren't fast enough. The burned one raised a pulse cannon and blasted them from the air. Others in the group hacked turrets, disabling them before alarms could rise. Alex followed Jayla as she led them deeper into the core. Finally, they reached a large central chamber. Inside, rows of tanks glowed with blue liquid. More girls, more experiments. Frozen, half-grown. Each one a silent prisoner. Jayla walked into the room and froze. This was what they were building. She stepped toward one of the tanks and whispered, "They weren't just cloning us. They were turning us into weapons." Alex checked the console. These ones, their brain activity is being altered. Artificial memories, artificial loyalties. They're making them forget who they are. Forget what pain feels like, so they'll obey orders without fear. Jayla's fists clenched. This wasn't a lab anymore. It was a factory. A voice echoed through the chamber. "I see. You made it back, Subject 74B. From the far wall, a tall figure stepped out, dressed in dark robes, face hidden behind a metal mask. Jayla stepped forward. "Who are you?" "The one who made you. The one who watched you break and rise." He waved a hand. More guards entered, but so did Jayla's army. The clash was fast and brutal. Blades flashed, energy bolts flew. Alex fought beside a reptilian survivor with a plasma spear. The burned one tore through walls like a wrecking ball. Jayla moved like shadow, fast, quiet, deadly. She reached the masked figure and ripped off his hood. His face was older now, but she knew it. It was him, the head of Z-Lab. The one who first strapped her down years ago. You tried to kill me, she said. No, he replied. I tried to perfect you. Jayla raised her weapon, but stopped. No, you don't get to die that easily. You get to live. Knowing your lab is gone, Alex had already set the charges. The tanks were emptied, the data wiped. Survivors rescued us. They ran. The explosion shook the earth. Fire roared through the tunnels. The last Z-Lab fell in ash and flamed back on the surface. Under a sky now full of light, the survivors stood together. Jayla looked at Alex. Her eyes were calm now. Free what now? He asked. Now, she said. We give them names and hope and maybe. For the first time, pieced together, they walked away. Not as test subjects, not as mistakes, but as people who had won their story back.